just recently, I was inspired to begin what I'm calling Earth Care Days here at Mangalam. Because we feel very privileged to live in such a beautiful natural space, and we have a hectare of land here and have over the years been developing that into a food forest, not only for ourselves but also for the birds and the animals that are native to this area. So I've opened up the garden a couple of times a week for people to come and just join us and plant food, tend to the garden. One week we cleaned out the chicken pen and have time to get away from screens, get away from their own homes and duties, and simply be in the garden and enjoy that process. One of the people attending said to me, "What is consciousness?" And this was I said, "Oh, just that little question today." It's a very difficult thing to conceptualize because it's not a concept. And in our meditation that we've just had, you would have noticed we went from localized awareness, where we actually focus attention, we call it focused attention or localized awareness. And then we gradually moved from that out. And I'm sort of using this expansion because it sometimes feels like that, to dropping that localized or focused attention to falling back into the field of open, aware presence. And in that open, aware presence, there is no focus on any object or subject. And this is moving into pure meditation. There are many different meditation techniques, which I learned in my years in the ashram, that apply to different states of mind and consciousness for us all. For instance, we can have mantra meditation where we repeat a mantra. And that's very good for a scattered mind because it brings the awareness into that verbal spoken mantra. And of course, the mantra has a vibration itself. Or we can practice something which we call antamona in my lineage, or it's a little like vipassana where you're moving your awareness through the body. Again, we're localizing and focusing awareness to moving through the body and noticing vibrations and sometimes heat, sometimes cold. So different sensations in the body. And again, this is localized awareness. But if we were going to go straight into meditation and into the meditation space, then we actually do the opposite. We can start with localization until the body calms down and it's still. You might notice the body for a while, do a few body scans, notice the breath for some time till it relaxes down. The mind starts to become a little quieter. But then we drop straight back into that open, aware sense of being or sense of presence. So here we are resting in what is prior to the objects and subjects arising. We're dropping back into, I suppose we could call it the matrix, which is the foundation. Everything arises from consciousness, from awareness. And then as awareness is focused on it, we notice objects. But when we drop back, and of course I'm using that because it feels like that sensation, and allow awareness to rest as open, aware presence, or this sense of being. This, in fact, is resting as consciousness, as aware presence. And this is the aim of meditation. And initially, this is a practice. And, you know, the mind might come in time and time again because we've been trained from a little child who, and you see babies like this, you can see they're just open, aware presence. They're just experiencing that. And little children, often when they're daydreaming, they're simply resting in that open, aware presence. But we're trained through our culture to focus. And, you know, we need that in the sense that I had to focus on this glass to pick it up so that I could have a drink of water. But what happens is the mind ultimately can become obsessed with the next thing. There's a lovely term called, it's a flippity gibbet. It's like a little frog, it hops, or a wild monkey. It just moves from, focus to focus to focus to focus. And as adults, most very rarely rest back in this beautiful, open, aware presence, focusing on no thing. But it's here in this field of open, aware presence, or the sense of being. If you like, we could give it so many names, and none of them are particularly adequate. It is here where infinite possibility rests. It is here, from here, which often great epiphanies have been had and knowings arise. It is a little bit like the sun. The sun can shine on a particular tree and light up that tree. Or in the dawn, in the morning, here the sun rises over the ocean. So, you see that trail of light across the ocean as the sun's rising. And that the focus of the light is there. And then as the sun rises, the focus of the light moves, and there's shadow and there's light. In the same way, awareness focuses. But the sun, can it shine upon itself? Or is it simply light? In the same way, awareness is open, aware presence. However, we can become aware of awareness, can't we? We can become aware that we have been resting in open awareness, and then we can become aware that awareness localizes and focuses. on an object or a subject again.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting what you said, and the meditation. And I was aware that, you know, when you were talking about you know, localized mind, my mind was absolutely localized at that very point. And I think actually that what I've become aware of during the meditation and afterwards is a fluttering in my heart, which actually I wasn't aware of. That while the mind is saying, okay, everything's fine, I'm here, and all the rest of it, there is other stuff going on which is deep within the body, and it's quite difficult to move to this open awareness when the heart is be fluttering
And
away.
That's very, very common, particularly when there's discomfort, to be drawn back to the body. However, even with that, this is a wonderful practice for you. And the acceptance of the fluttering, when the fluttering occurs, notice your mind will then go, oh, you know, there's a problem. It'll find that as a problem.
Yeah.
Rather than perhaps just try and, there's the fluttering again. I acknowledge that and then expand out again. But what tends to happen when something arises, it's like sleeping with a mosquito in the room, isn't it? You know, you cannot ignore that mosquito until you can. So acknowledge it, notice that it's there. No need to deny that. The awareness has just been drawn in. There's an awareness of the fluttering there. And then again, expand awareness back out again as much as you can. And initially in any meditation practice, you will be drawn in 100, 1,000 times. You know, in 5 minutes, the mind can be tugged back in 1,000 times. But it's a retraining as well, because particularly if we're someone who has worked in a way where we use and harness mind a lot, as an intellectual or a teacher or whatever that is, it's a whole different way of being, melting back out again and seeing what spontaneous knowings and wisdom can come from the empty space is a whole different experience. So yeah, practice that, acknowledging it, noticing it's there. There's nothing that can be done about it at the moment. The wonderful thing about this meditation is if you can just notice it and as much as possible go back to open, aware presence, it will relax the heart. It will lower the blood pressure. And these are things that have been proven scientifically, that this meditation has such a huge beneficial effect on the body.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's very helpful. I mean, it's unpleasant, the fluttering of the heart. I mean, it's the bodily, you know, becoming aware of it is actually not it's actually allowing it, but it's there. So being aware of it must be better than just denying it. So, yeah.
And also, is it the fluttering or is it the mind's reaction to the fluttering that causes the, you know, the angst, so to speak? Because the mind then comes in and exacerbates that with the story of this is wrong, there's something wrong. So again, just watch that in action as well and then let it go. because there's sensation, but then the body comes into that sensation and has a story about that sensation, and then that grows, and then you might find yourself thinking about the doctor that you're going to see, or the tablets that they, you know, and it just goes on. The mind train starts spinning around and around the tracks. So again, just stepping off the mind train and coming back into that neutral open space again is always helpful.